Marie, this is my Christmas. This is my Christmas. I am so excited. It is officially it's God, it's everything that you want.
It's here.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. This for real is my Christmas. I cannot wait to just sit and watch basketball for like 12 straight hours. It is the most magical time of year for me.
It is the best time of year. It's the best.
Huge college basketball geek. I can't I'm out of my I gotta go.
He's gone. We've lost him. And by the way, this is an all-new episode of For the Love of Sport. All right, welcome everyone. And as mentioned, it is March frickin' Madness, baby. So if you do not have at least one TV going, hopefully it's muted so you get to fully listen to us, but hopefully you have at least one team going. I hope your team made it to the dance, the amazingness that is March Madness. I'm sorry.
I'm so jazzed. I think I never really realized how much I'd never recovered from it not being around in 2020.
2020, you just kind of erase that. It didn't
from memory,
quite happen.
No idea what happened. Everyone was on vacation. I don't know. Everyone was out for lunch. Do you have any traditions around March Madness?
Yeah. Since I was a little kid, I always had at least one bracket where the Wisconsin Badgers won naturally.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't you have one that just makes no sense, but it's your emotional bracket that you just put whatever team you really care about going forward. And that's usually hopefully the one that doesn't have anything on the line. Other than that, not really, but I know I have a friend who he always takes both days off and they have 7 TVs and they just like sit. I know you do that, right? Don't you? Yeah.
I go to a local establishment called Buffalo Wild Wings with my my dad
never heard of it.
And with my mom and dad, and they lock down a booth. And if I'm lucky enough, my brother will also show up, and we just sit, eat wings, watch basketball. And we lock down a booth for the entire time. Like we're there.
What time do they show
morning.
up at? Like 8 a.m. Are we talking here?
They show up at 10 a.m.
Like a little brunch.
Right at open. Absolutely.
True. Wings for brunch, maybe. Who knows? I love it. Fun. That's a good tradition.
It is super fun. And I do something similar where actually I'll fill out the bracket based on emotion, the bracket based on logical common sense, the bracket that is based on mathematical odds. So I'll take each team. This is how hard I go. I'll take each team, and then if they have a 75% chance to win and 25% chance to win for the other team, I will do like a random mathematical generator. And if it's within 1 to 75, then the favorite wins. If
this is absurd,
75 and above, I'll give it to the underdog, and I'll do that for the entire bracket.
This is absurd.
And then
this is absurd behavior.
And then I do another one, fourth one. That is Crazy Town. That is just bananas everywhere, like 16s beating 1s, and it makes no sense. But that's the magic of March Madness.
That's the magic.
That can happen. The odds of you getting a perfect bracket are
0.
Astronomical. It's unbelievable, actually, that number. Hang on, just for the people out there, because we can cut around this stuff with me.
Yeah. And dear listener, if you haven't filled out a bracket, let us encourage you. This is probably going to be too late. This game's already happening.
We'll post our bracket.
We'll keep you up to date on how things are going. The misery. I would say I remember, I don't know when this was. I think it was when I was still in college, maybe. North Carolina was playing Villanova in the final, and I had a significant amount of, I think it was actually a work bracket, and I had some money on it. Wow. And it was when Villanova won on that last second 3-pointer. I quite literally
it was
cried. And you want to know the real dagger on all this? Me, this was my first job out of college at the time, just trying to make ends meet, winning a bracket. I think it was like $500 I would have won. Significant chunk of cash for a 22-year-old. You know what I mean? And you know who won? Our CFO. This man does not need like a drop in the bucket. And here I am. I guess I won't eat dinner tonight. Kidding. Always ate dinner. Food's a priority.
Oh my gosh.
We'll probably cut that. Anyways, what is the stat for us? Yes.
The odds of you picking a perfect bracket is 1 in 9 quadrillion, 223 trillion, 372 billion, 36,854,775, 808.
But for some reason,
are the odds. We keep trying.
Still do it every time.
Trying.
It's the beauty of the human spirit.
Intrepid. I don't think we can waste any more
boy.
time here because we have a guest who knows a thing or two about basketball, especially now, that we need to bring on, as well as maybe another sport too.
A few other
What do you
sports.
say?
Maybe one or two other sports. Yeah, I think we should bring him on. He's a legend. He is a true legend, and I think his next generation are already becoming legends in their respective.
Well on their way.
Without further ado, Mr. Chad Greenway.
All right, folks, hold on tight. We've got quite the introduction today. Chad Greenway, quite simply, can do it all. Growing up in Mount Vernon, South Dakota, Chad was an extremely decorated and versatile athlete. He lettered in basketball, baseball, track and field, but his talents shone the brightest in football, where he was named Gatorade Football Player of the Year as a senior in 2001, where he played quarterback, free safety, returned punts and kickoffs, and helped lead his prep team to 2 consecutive titles. From there, he went to the University of Iowa, where he led a stellar collegiate career, ultimately leading him to be a first-round draft pick for the Minnesota Vikings, where he played his entire illustrious career for 11 years. I know I'm biased. I'm a Vikings fan. Throw that in the comments. I don't care. It's fine. Fast forward today, Chad Greenway is a girl dad times 4. He's a president of Wayzata Girls Basketball Association, coached in numerous different sports teams his daughters participate in. He's part of the ownership group for Grey Duck, runs numerous charities with his wife, and as of recently, since he obviously didn't have enough going on, jumped on board to help launch a new high school sports app. In his very spare free time, you can find him enjoying time with his family and friends, enjoying a nice Minnesota Lake day, or cheering on one of our many great sports teams here in the Twin Cities. With all that said, welcome to the For the Love of Sport podcast, Chad Greenway.
Thank you. Wow, that was quite the introduction. It's embarrassing to say the least, but no, I appreciate that.
To start things out, what was your youth sport experience like?
It's so different than it is now. I mean, honestly, I played 1 year of AU basketball, but growing up, I mean, I started basketball in 5th grade. We had youth this through our school, so you practice after school. You have play maybe 6, 8, 10 games at all, maybe one tournament. I played baseball in the summer. Football, I started playing in 7th grade. We had tackle football in 7th grade, so that's when I started playing. Otherwise, recess ball. No youth football at all in our community. And I ran track starting in 5th grade. So track is a big part of our family's life. Probably the sport we were required to do in our house growing up was track, and it's the same in our house here. So it's just one of those sports that just really teaches you a lot about yourself, how to push yourself. I wasn't a wrestler, so I thought it was a great example of kind of having an individual sport. Even if you're within a relay, your individual segment. And it was just one sport to the next. I mean, if you take a year out of that, take my sophomore year of high school, it was start football season, and you started in August, and you had your training camp, and you went to your 8-game regular season, made the playoffs my sophomore year, but got beat out midway through there, and immediately started going to open gyms for basketball. And you have like a 2 or 3 week window, and then you start practicing hoops, and then boom, I'm right into hoop season. And hoops is probably the one sport I played year round in some sense, like practicing. I didn't play club, but practicing in the driveway, had a gravel driveway, had to get the big rocks out of there.
Nice.
And we had grew up on a big farm. So we had the yard light that kind of gave us some light at night. So I'd be out there just endless hours. I really wanted to be a basketball player. And then you go through basketball season. My sophomore year, we had a good basketball season. Didn't end up making the state tournament, but literally with snow on the ground, you start track practice like as soon as basketball's over, like the Monday after the state tournament. So we had maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks off after we got beat out of districts, and right into track season. And I was a hurdler and a triple jumper and a long jumper, and just loved track. And when that was over, school was over, and I played baseball in the summer. So we played Teener Legion baseball in the summer. We didn't have a school team. It was just affiliated through the community, Teener Legion. And then we have an amateur team as well in our small town. But town of 400 people. I graduated 26 kids in my class.
Oh, wow.
It was just Americana. I mean, everybody supports the high school teams. The youth games are not overwhelmingly good, but also nobody's crazy. And we just developed as we developed on our own. And a true athlete, I'd say, I showed a lot of promise in all the sports, but I never closed the gap of my potential in any of the 4 sports because I never did them all the time. I was never always lifting weights for football, and never always playing basketball or whatever it was. And I did play 1 year of AAU basketball going into my senior year, which was a blast. Got a chance to finally get on an airplane, travel to tournaments, had a lot of success, had a lot of good Division II opportunities for basketball. And then my senior year of football, Iowa made me an offer for football, a full ride, and that's what I accepted. And when I went to Iowa, that gap that was still open, there's a lot of these 4 and 5 star recruits that had played one sport, or maybe had played one sport and did one other thing for fun. I just had such a gap to improve over everybody else because I had done so much and never really spent a lot of time on one thing. So I thought that was really kind of an advantage for me.
Yeah, that's actually, I feel like kind of how my experience was. I played a bunch of sports in a smaller town, never really had either like coaches who were like my soccer coach. He had no idea what was going on. You just kind of grow at your own rate and you're just kind of naturally talented. And then when you get to an environment where you can really grow, you're like in the next year, you like double your skill and your talent. And you're just, holy cow. Like if this could have been how it was the whole time, but then you're maybe it wasn't, maybe I would have gotten, sick of it or whatever the case may be.
There's something to that.
A big advocate for like our high school football coach was also our track coach. So he had the saying, no track, no back. Like, you're not going to run track. You're not going to play running back for me. You're not going to play quarterback for me. Like there's this idea in our community that was, it's all hands on deck because you had to play all sports. So you could feel the team in a lot of cases.
Sure.
And it was fun. I wasn't the best baseball player, but I had a lot of fun doing it. Travel around the summer with my buddies. Like I got out of work on the farm, which was my only saving grace in the summer because farm kids hate summer because you can't hide from your dad at school. You have to work all the time.
Yeah.
And that was true. I mean, that was my one outlet in the summer was that. And like the other three sports, I did really well at. So it's always fun to do those things you're good at and have success with your buddies. But yeah, it's so true. Multi-sports. So even my kids now, my oldest 2 or 3 already are doing multiple things and they'll be required, even if they're not good at them. I don't care about that. I care about just being involved and branching out socially, with what you can do. And you have no idea what you're going to be good at, what the strength is until you try it.
True. And there's countless case studies too of like multi-sport athletes that, eventually go into a single sport later, in life, not early, not designated their time early for it. But for you, would you say maybe that advantage of being on that sort of strict schedule and that regimen of I've got, I have this in the fall, I have this in the winter, I have this in the spring, and all that sort of repeated to then get to the college. Do you think you have the advantage of I have all of this muscle memory and skill set and training and all these other sports that move my body in different ways? Now I can focus all my attention towards football. Was your ramp up time, do you think, less than someone else?
I mean, I think just, again, there's a genetic piece of this too, right? Where my body was coded with a nervous system that was able to adapt in that way too. So when I started lifting heavier weights and I started having to try to put weight on, like my body it fit that mode. And I was lucky. That's luck. That's not skill. That's just born. Thanks, mom and dad. But I think that my ability to adapt as an athlete 1000% was improved because of all the things that I did. I had year-round activity. So like there's never downtime. There's never an off season. It was just fun. Boom, boom, boom. And what it was is it curbed all the burnout. Like I can remember after my senior year of high school football, we had won the state championship and it was just a blast, right? I felt a lot of pressure, but it was like that big relief. And I kind of had maybe like a 2 or 3 week kind of slow start to my senior year. Probably a little bit of senioritis of just kind of having a little bit of burnout from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. But then when I had a chance to take a couple of weeks and not be crazy basketball, I kind of eased into it. And then once the game started, of course, I was ready to rock. But it was like one of those things where I kind of needed just a little bit of a mental break. And, youth sports have just been absolutely just taken to the deep water and just changed so much. I think it's the advent of a lot of folks moving out of small towns and communities, but even those kids in those small towns are getting pulled in those directions now where they weren't years ago when I was coming out. It was didn't have the option to play year-round basketball. I mean, you really didn't have it. Now, all these companies have been created, AU teams and programs, and now football even has it. And there's AU track. You can do that. If there's a way for you to get pulled down that rabbit hole. And I also think certain sports are worse than others. And I have soccer players. Soccer is one of those sports where the club team demands your time year round. And if you're going to miss something for soccer, like you're going to be held accountable. I think it's such a poor approach. I mean, I'll say, like, we work with our kids. We have kids at Minnesota Thunder Academy. We have kids at Fusion. And both of those programs have done a really nice job of working with us and scheduling. So as much as that's out there in the world, like me individually, there's some pressure about it. But if you explain to the coaches, hey, they're not sitting on their butt or they're not taking a vacation. We're going to a basketball tournament or we're going to practice and we're being athletes somewhere else. It may just not be here. Like, we can't prioritize that right now. And the other one I've noticed just in the world is volleyball. I feel like volleyball is one of those sports that, and again, I don't have a volleyball player, so I'm speaking out of turn here, but just the things I hear and see is I see a lot of kids, especially in the girls' side. I don't know the boys' side as well. In the girls' side, you see a girl who's 5'11", eighth grader, 6 foot freshman, 6'1", and all of a sudden you can see that at the club team saying, we're going to take hers. Well, you're not going to play basketball. We have tournaments. We have club tournaments in Vegas and Orlando and here and here. you can't play basketball. It's like, well, you have no idea what that kid is going to be. You have no idea if that kid wants to play volleyball year round. You're pressuring her at 14, 15, and you're saying, mom and dad, hey, your daughter, she's a Division I volleyball player. You got to bring her in full time. And as a parent, you feel that pressure to say, he's done it. I mean, he's ran this program or she's ran this program. And there's situations where the best opportunity for that girl may not to play one sport. It may be to play multiple things and be diversified and see what other options are out there. But it's one of the things I've just noticed from afar.
Yeah, I think it's such good advice for parents who, you know, it's okay to go to your coach or go to the program and kind of ask. And to your point, it's not like you're pulling them out to just, you know, sit on their butt or like play video games or whatever. Like there's a time and place for all of that as well. But if they're getting involved in other things, I think that's a valid thing.
Yeah, you have to keep in perspective as a parent is we're the paying customer that has the talent.
Yeah.
Like your kid made that team because they were good enough to make that team, whether it's the top team, second team, whatever it is. Your kid's good enough. So they noticed that at the tryout, at whatever they saw. And the reality is if you really say you're about the kid and you're putting the kid first, which is what you've told me when I signed up for this and I wrote the check as a paying customer, like the best thing for that kid, which is what I'm saying, because I'm the parent, is for her to do this and this. If you mean what you say and say what you mean, then you're going to hear me out. Now, if I'm taking advantage of it as a parent and say, they're a pushover, I can go do this and do that, and I'll still be able to play, then the club's got to hold that person accountable. But in this case, like if you know that kid is committed, they're at practice working hard, when they can, they're showing up, they're dropping one basketball bag and throwing on their soccer cleats. Like, that is commitment. Commitment's not making every minute of every practice. Commitment is getting there and being present and the parent wanting them to do this thing. But if you're about kids and you're an adult male or female that's saying these things and pressuring parents, like you're the problem. Like you have to work out the kid and make it about the kid and not yourself. Because that's how, by the way, that's how you're getting paid from those parents. Yeah. That's why the club exists.
For sure. And you can tell as a coach or, I've been a coach have had kids who are clearly, you can tell the ones that are committed, that are there, and they're playing a lot of sports and you can just tell, the kids that are there and they're going to give it their all and all that good stuff. So the other thing I wanted to pull on, and you mentioned it kind of at the beginning, you said when you were growing up, you did track and field, and you think that's important we've talked to a few people about this. I think like multi-sport is important, but what does that mean? I was only in team sports. I never really participated in an individual sport. And I think that would have been super valuable. So what do you find that the value of that past, just, kind of being on your own, needing to navigate things on your own, and how can that kind of help if they end up wanting to be a team sport or focus on more team sports?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think wrestling is the ultimate sport that just undresses self-consciousness and addresses all these things. Like you're walking on a mat 1v1. And now it's great because girls wrestling has taken such a step forward, which is awesome to create that opportunity in that way. But just thinking back to my childhood is watching my friends step on that mat and just lay it on the line in one of the hardest sports to go mano a mano with another human and lean on each other for that long and work through conditioning and work through problems and have to decide, am I going to quit because I'm tired, or am I going to continue to push forward? Like this idea that an individual sport, like look at track, I'm going to run one time around this track. It's going to be a quarter mile, and I'm going to pour my guts out on this thing, and I may lose. I may get last. I may win. I'm going to pour it all out. Yeah. And when you do that, when you put yourself in that situation, it's the finger point generation of this, it's self-awareness. It is being able to look at the finger back and you say, did I empty the glass? Did I empty everything in my tank that I have? If you say yes, then what more as a parent, as a coach, can I ask for? I can't. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, God, I had a little more in me. That's where the rubber meets the road, and said, I got to go that little bit further to empty the tank. That's what true putting everything out there means. And so just speaking on my own behalf for me, track was awesome. It was social. It was fun. It was outdoors. It was competitive. It was a great environment. So for our children, now Madden is a freshman. We're trying to make and navigate this schedule, right? She as an 8th grader last year, she was coming out of basketball season. She was going into AAU club season. She was playing club soccer. And we just put her foot down and be like, you're running track. She said, well, I don't want to. I don't think you heard us. Like, it's not an option. Like, when you're 18 or if you start paying all your bills, you can say whatever you want. But the reality is this, you're going to go turn yourself inside out and you're going to run quarters and 800s and 300-meter hurdles. And you're going to decide who you want to be, because it's great. You're a good basketball player, a soccer player. Those are team sports. You can lean on each other and lean on other people. And those are great lessons to learn. I'm not taking anything away from them, but you need this part too. And from start to finish from that track season, I've never seen her mentality or body change as much as it did in that 3-month season. It was incredible. Her core was so strong. Her mentally, she was so strong. She ended up being a state champion, the 4x4, set 2 different school records. She got 3rd as an individual athlete in 300-meter hurdles. She had never hurdled in her life 2 months before then. But she was scared to death to do those things. She never come out of the blocks before. She never all those who knew, and she just found a way to navigate that. And credit to her coach for working around her AU schedule, for having a little bit of give and take, and even having it being a high school sport, like a little bit of give and take where we have to do this in the club side. We have to. It's a tournament in Virginia. We have to make that. It's a big deal for recruitment. It's a big deal for the club. How do we navigate that? If there's a practice she's going to miss, I'll find a track in Virginia and we'll run that practice. We'll do that workout. So you know that she's committed. I videoed her doing the workout. Like here, she did it. Like, we want you to know that she's committed to this. It's not there because we don't care. I think that means a lot to the high school coach who's giving everything and getting paid peanuts to know that kid is not taking advantage of her ease of schedule. But putting yourself out there at an individual level, and it could be anything, it could be crap shooting, could be any sport where it's on you, I think means a ton to kids and their growth.
100%. And shout out to Madden, first of all. That's awesome. Like, let's give a big round of applause. We'll throw that sound effect in there.
We couldn't have been more proud of her. I mean, of all the accomplishments she's had to this point, like it was our most proud moment, because she really had to dig in and find herself. And I think that's when you see her growing as a person. I mean, to heck with the athlete part, but just really having to find another level to the depth of her character.
And to that point, like, you learned it can't be emphasized enough. You learn so much when you put yourself into individual sports, like whatever it is. It can be track, it can be cross country, it can be jiu-jitsu, it can be tennis, it can be whatever, as long as it's
when you fail. Right. And when you fail, when you put yourself out there, say, hey, I'm going to fail. A successful athlete who's part of a team and has a successful team, that's great. But now when you fail individually, like, that is different. And that really allows you to take a step forward.
Your growth expands quite a bit.
I don't think a lot of people really understand what goes into kind of like running a youth organization and being kind of at the helm of it.
I mean, off-season training, we implemented that. In season, you have tryouts, evaluations, you have to put teams together. You have all the, we're working with Sport Engine and to put together our website to make sure we're getting the communication passed back and forth. And we're using the Sport Engine app to get teams and link up coaches and parents to that app, to the team. It's just, it's so much behind the scenes work, and our board works tirelessly to make it. And of course, all unpaid volunteer time. It's nuts how many hours I've given to this thing, but it's a blessing.
What would you say, obviously there's a lot of good that comes from it. And there's probably a lot of things you learn every day about youth sports, about, handling parents, about working with referees and coaches and volunteers. What would you say has been the most challenging thing over the past couple years?
Probably getting parents, the biggest issue is getting parents to understand the level of which their kid is at. And that's not to be good or bad. It's simply, for the most part, most parents think their kid's in a certain light when it comes to their ability. And if they don't hit what they think that level within a team, or within whatever that is, within that individual team or with whatever team they made, it's not being negative, but you have to be honest with them. It's like, this is where she finished last year on her team. This is where she tried out. And we have no ill will against Susie. This is where she's at. And we're trying to put her in the best situation so she can have a great year, so she can improve, and so she can have fun. This actually has nothing to do with you as a parent and what you think and feel. It has to do with how do we put her in the best situation to make her better and make our organization better, make the team better. And for the most part, honestly, 6 years in we don't have very many issues at all. We have very good parents. You have a couple things pop up here or there because it's community. I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be different opinions. That is just us as humans having that and going through that and navigating it. To me, I always looked at it as like, I need to be that mediator to step in and say, okay, there's a disagreement here. We don't need to lose our minds and lose our heads. Let's communicate. And, I just had a situation last week where I had, a couple different parents on the phone doing a 3-way phone call just to get everybody on the same page. And, we're moving forward in a great way. And everybody has communicated their sentiments and what's going on, maybe their concerns. And we've moved forward together. And that's community. That's basketball, basketball community to me, and trying to do it the right way. You're always going to be imperfect, but and then the conversation is great one is with the referees and how parents are handled in games. And I think I said this to you when we spoke last week is I feel like there's some improvement there. I really do. I feel like I'm looking just inwardly at our community and how we handle it is we hold parents accountable. If we see or hear somebody going nuts at a game or being derogatory or talking down or just being nuts, is I'm going to call that parent to the carpet and say, what is going on? Because you're representing our community. You're representing our town, our association. You're representing me, us, everybody. And where's the issue here? Yes, they may have missed this. Yes, they may have done that. But reality is they're also human. They're out here. They're helping us. They're the only way we can have these basketball games or these events by having those guys do it. And I've ran events. I ran events every year, and we feel like we've found a pretty good path to navigate that situation in our events. And it's been fun to kind of find some solutions there.
It's such an important call out to remember that refs don't just, want to spend their nights jumping off the couch. You know what I want to do today? I want to be screamed at by a lot of parents for just being a human, maybe missing a call or something. That seems fun.
The biggest thing I have is just, if you're going to be there and you're going to get paid to be there by an association of volunteers, is just be present. That's really it. I mean, I'm not going to argue. I'm going to focus as a coach. I'm going to focus on coaching my kids because that's what I'm supposed to be. So if you always just keep the main thing, right? As a parent, like be there to cheer for your kid and encourage.
Yeah.
Right. If you start to tear down other people or start to do something different than that, like you're probably getting out of your lane. You're not keeping the main thing. And I think that's the focus of everybody. And there's been times when I've looked in the mirror and been, this is not about you. This is about these kids. Coach them up. That's it. And I think it's good for you to kind of do a self-check if you're in the sports world and say, what are you really there for? Are you there to uplift your own kid above others? Or are you there to tear down others and referees or coaches because you think you have the answers? And there are situations where that's called on. I mean, let's be honest. There are situations where coaches are being crazy and there's things going on and a parent needs to speak up, and certainly do it in that regard, but do it in a way that's professional and go through the right channels to get it done, and you'll be listened to a lot better.
And like you mentioned too, it's the example that you set not only for your community, your team, but it's also the example you set for your kid. Like if you're going to be that person in the stands, then you're not really setting the best example for a kid to emulate. And then on top of that too, I think it's a testament to what you said earlier. Like you want to jump into the community and be part of the community, not, hide behind desks or hide behind like just the stands and kind of keep to yourself. It's the work of cultivating the relationships over years where you can have these conversations with parents and it has a lot more weight to it. It has weight because you put the effort in.
Yeah, and I can't just say, well, I played in the NFL, so I know what's going on. Like I didn't know anything about youth basketball. I had to learn it and go through it. Now I have real life experience, 6 years of it, where I've coached a team every year. I've coached youth soccer, but in the basketball world, I don't know everything, but I do have a lot of life experience now. 6 years of it, of running an association, coaching teams, dealing with issues, dealing with parents, dealing with coaches, dealing with refs. Say, hey, I can handle this. I can answer your questions and help and find the right solution. And it may not be the answer they want to hear, but it's the right answer. It's going to help them move forward sometimes, which I think is important. So, as much as the youth sports landscape has shifted in the last 20 years towards the club level and towards this crazy competitiveness of trying to get kids scholarships and opportunities, and the social media realm certainly only kind of exacerbates that, is just trying to have good leadership. And when we look to bring in board members, we are looking for the right type of leadership that's going to kind of do that same thing, is keep it about the kids, keep giving opportunities, hold parents accountable, and also celebrate the fact that as a community, we feel like we're making those changes and making the shifts to be good coaches and be good parents to referees and to other teams we're playing, because there's so much negativity. You know what? We're doing a pretty good job in our community and trying our best. And, it's not always perfect, but you're always striving to be better.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, obviously we've kind of covered the gambit here in terms of you as running a youth basketball org. You're a coach, you were in the NFL, you've done all these things. But let's shift it a little bit to you being now, fully a youth sport dad in it, doing all those sort of stuff. You've got kids who are, in the world of being recruited, scholarships, dealing with social media, NIL. You've also got kids who are just beginning their youth sport journey. Do you want to talk to us about kind of all of that, the gambit of your experience in dealing with those different realms and how you kind of manage it all?
Yeah. I mean, when we started, as I talked about Matt, started playing basketball in third grade, is you sort of, as you get into it, especially just what I found in Minnesota, it's such a competitive world in youth basketball space. There's so many good players and good people they're doing it the right way. And, as Madden has climbed the ranks and when COVID hit, we moved all of our kids out of the public school into a private school just because of COVID and being present at school. And we thought it'd maybe be a 1 or 2 year deal. And we've really enjoyed where we moved the children to. But what happened with that is they were allowed to play varsity sports earlier than they probably would have. And that's really changed her experience. So she started playing varsity basketball in 7th grade. And she had Madden, our oldest I'm speaking of, and had a bunch of success early on and had a great team, had great parents on that team, supported her. Even we had the little 7th grader coming in here shooting 10, 15, 20 times a game. And not always making the right decisions. They worked with her. They helped her grow. And they actually made the state tournament her 7th grade year and got second. And then, went to the club season, had a great club season, came back next year. And as an 8th grader, they won the state tournament last year. So she was starting to get a lot of attention, and going into the fall of her 8th grade years when she received her first scholarship opportunity. It was really crazy. I mean, it was obviously really fun and exciting, but also, a lot comes with that. Like, how are you going to handle that as a parent? Are you going to post it on social media? Are you going to help start to build a brand while she's 14? Because that's smart. Is that, like, how do you do that? And so we, when it comes to the phone and how we kind of handle that with our daughter is, she was probably the last one of her friends to get a phone. She still does not have access to social media on her phone at all. Zero. We just feel like there's a time and place for that. And we feel like the landscape of that right now is really challenging for kids. And she's got enough pressures and enough things going on where she doesn't need to add that to the mix. As much as there's a want and a pull to do that, we're like, you know what, we'll create those opportunities for you, and we'll create accounts for you. But we're going to manage them and truly manage them in a sense where we're going to contain them on our phone where you can't have access to them unless we're sort of mediating that to a good degree. And people will say, well, you're helicopter parenting, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's like, well, when we decided to make her account public, we knew that we're putting her out in a different sphere. And now she started to have success with sports. So then she's getting a lot of attention, and with that comes a lot of negative attention as well, with people in turn want to tear you down every chance they get, every turn they can to see you fail. So we're really just being mindful. And a lot of that comes from the world that we lived in, the NFL for 11 years. We've seen and lived that, for a long time. So we probably have a little different lens when it comes to those types of things. And so there'll be a time and place when we feel like it's appropriate for her to start to manage that on her own, because it is an important lesson to learn. How do you manage that now? Because that's the world we live in. These kids are growing up in this world, and we're just trying to help dip her toe in the water to learn it, to understand it, to then respect it. And then also to leverage it. And, let's think about it from different. This is a great way to connect with people and to connect with friends and family and all these things. I mean, we're streaming every game on Facebook Live, and parents back home can watch it. Our youth games, our 3rd grade daughter had a rec game and just being, streamed on Facebook, and my mom can watch it. It's just, the world's changed so much.
Yeah.
But now, how do you leverage that? I think in this world, the NIL is such a scary world for people, because it's like, this is new. I don't like it. I don't know about it. Yeah. But it's here. So do you just say, you know what? No, I'm not doing any of it. I'm staying away from it. Or do you try to figure it out and try to navigate it? And I thought it'd be fun to try to navigate that. And we're in that world a little bit. We're working with a great company with Madden, ETS Performance. I know the owners. I know the company. They're faith-based. They're family-based. I don't want her to be like a spokesperson. I don't want her to get up and say, hey, come here and do this. I want her to represent their company, because she trains it, what she does. And she's not lying to the consumer. And I think that's really important lesson for her to learn. Even if she never plays sports in college or does anything else, is like, you tried this, it worked, it didn't work, you learned something, you didn't learn something. But again, it's out there now. And I think if she's going to go down this path, which she is, then you should learn about it and not be scared of it. I was scared of it. I'm trying to understand it. I think everybody is. And so now she's in her freshman year of high school. They're having a really fun season. They're having some success. They're learning a lot. She's having individual success as well, which is fun. But the team success is something that she loves, she cherishes. So hopefully this season ends in a great way. She's working hard, trying hard, playing hard, and we'll see how it all shapes up. But the college experience has just continued to accelerate. She's gotten several more offers now. And now she has homework and study for a test and basketball practice and maybe 3 calls with college coaches, or 2 calls between practices, or it's part of her recruitment process now. And how do you manage that? What's enough? What's too much? And I'll say this is her high school basketball coach has been just so instrumental in helping manage that, because that's the conduit and that's the communication piece that coaches can use to speak to kids and to parents.
Yeah.
And he filters a lot of that out to say, hey, we have 3 games this week. She has a lot going on academically. Like, let's maybe schedule a call for the weekend or for next week, and just helping to manage all that. I'm fearful of that June date when the college can call her directly anytime, that connecting piece, because then it's like sort of like opens up the gates. But either way, it's been fun. I mean, we've learned a ton. My wife and I, both college athletes. My wife ran track and cross country at Iowa, but neither one of us recruited on the level that Mad's being recruited at right now. But love the community that she's a part of at the high school level, the club level, and they're helping her grow in a lot of ways.
I know the Minnesota youth sports world is thankful for your participation and jumping in head first. I know that for sure. Speaking of that, can you speak to the Minnesota Scores app, kind of the goals you have for it, its growth? I know when we talked to you last, it's sort of been a really cool story of growth in itself, but can you kind of talk to us more about sort of hopping into that and the importance around that?
Yeah. I was sitting back in South Dakota, watching my niece and nephew play a live basketball game. And my sister was using this app, and it was really cool. It was super clean, easy to look at. And I downloaded it immediately, started using it and kind of messing around with it. And this was right when COVID was actually going on. So all these live stream, companies were coming out, and it was already there, obviously, and existed, but it wasn't like everybody was doing it. And on the app, it had all the live stream links embedded into the scheduled games. So you could look at the date, say it's Thursday, January 17th, and there's 45 high school basketball games. The live stream link was embedded in every one of them. Click it, click the link, go to the game, see an updated score, updated by fans live at the games. Sometimes every point is scored.
Wow.
You can see the roster, all this kind of stuff. And you go in, you can see the standings and the rankings and the future schedule, common opponents. It was super cool. So, okay, this is awesome. And that was right when Madden started to play high school sports here in Minnesota. And, I thought I want to have this for Minnesota. And I just sent an email to the app developer, and it was a dad and son in South Dakota that developed it. And I said, what's it going to take to bring this to Minnesota? And we had several meetings and conversations, and we brought it to Minnesota. And now we're in 4 states looking to expand further. But it's so every state we're in, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, have your own app built specifically for your high school. So do you have districts or regions? Do you have sections or subsections? Every state's different. How's the class structure look? It's built specific to your state. So when you look at the app, 4-class basketball system, 2-class hockey system, whatever it is, whatever sport you're in. And in Minnesota, it's been adopted so well. So if you're in Minnesota, it's MN Score Feed is the app. You go search in the App Store. It's free. Download it. You can follow up to 10 of your favorited teams, which will be on your home screen every time you open it up. And those games will pop up first and populate, or you can search any name, any team, whatever. Really cool tool. And as our users have just exploded, and it's going to continue to go through the roof. We're really going to we're going to chop off some big states next year with some big populations and big high schools that I think we're going to make a lot of people excited, because we're trying to change the landscape. And there's some great companies out there that have done a great job. And we're just trying to go out there and fit in and really, in my opinion, bring high school sports up to where it should be as far as the technology world and how people can follow it, and how high school teams can be supported. And we'll pop out a live stream link in some of these games. You have 200 people watching it. Wow. A high school basketball game where there's, maybe 500-600 people attending. So really crazy what you're able to see. And so, and we're always adding to it. We're always adding new tools, new functionalities. Like the volleyball world, we learned is a bunch of events, like weekend events, weekend tournaments, weekend jamborees. We have an events tab. So you go to that events tab and you're going to see all those events across the state where those volleyball events are going on. Or in basketball world, you have like winter Christmas tournaments or whatever. It's under the events tab. It's there. And the fun times when you get to playoff season, because now we'll build out that bracket structure for class 2A, section 1, section 2. And then when it gets whittled down to state tournament or whatever, you have the state tournament brackets on there, and we just see people go there and check and watch the live and spend hours on that. It's pretty fun.
Especially where cool. Like a sport like hockey in Minnesota, and especially the high school hockey tournament for everybody else who's not in Minnesota, it's a thing. It's a big thing. It's a big deal.
It's insane.
It is massive. Yeah, it is massive. I think just to get 18,000 at the X in St. Paul. And the one thing we can't do from a live stream is we can't bust through paywalls, obviously. So what we'll do is, like in that case, like we'll provide that link to get you to the paywall to watch that game. So sometimes you're out there searching, like, where's this link? How do I find it? Well, it'll be there, but we can't, we're not going to pay that $15 fee to watch that game, maybe even in that case, but we'll get you there.
Right on.
Chad, thank you for hopping on, being a part of this and speaking to your experience. It's incredibly valuable. And I know that there's a lot of great nuggets of wisdom that can be pulled away from this for everybody out there listening, whether they're a parent, whether they're an admin, whether they're a volunteer, because those lines blur quite a bit and you can be all three of those all at once, as I'm sure you're aware. So we're going to move into our final section here since we're short on time, the this or that gauntlet. So we have 10 read at a rapid fire pace. We need rapid fire answers, no thinking, gut reactions only. You ready?
Got it.
All right. I'll go first.
Okay.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Cups in the cupboard, right side up or upside down?
Right side up.
After work, are you relaxing on a couch or a recliner?
I wish I could do either.
Or on a bench at a basketball court?
It'd be a couch, though. It would be a couch.
It's halftime. Orange slices or Capri Sun?
Orange slices.
At a movie, candy or popcorn?
Popcorn. I'll say popcorn, but both.
Is it pronounced GIF or GIF?
Yeah.
Would you prefer, back in your playing days, a sack or an interception?
Interception.
All right, football's off the table, and I think we know the answer to this maybe, but would you rather go pro in basketball or baseball?
You check the money these days.
Baseball then.
Yeah, basketball.
All right, which team would you have rather blown out, the Saints or the Packers?
Both. I mean, kidding me? Depends on the year. I would say Packers because that's every year.
Yeah, consistently.
All right, who'd you rather have on your team, peak Eli Manning or peak Peyton Manning?
Peyton.
Who is your Minnesota Viking GOAT?
Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played with Randy for a month in 2010. It was an interesting month, to say the least. But just as far as long term, I mean, I grew up watching him and played with him, which was pretty fun.
Oh.
The answer B would be Adrian, because I played with him for 10 years.
Right.
And so sometimes because I played with him for so long, I sort of kind of forget about him sometimes.
Been there, done that. That's
awesome.
Great. Thank you. We've got just a few minutes left, and we always like to leave the last word with the guest. Anything that you maybe didn't get a chance to say or impress upon, or just anything else on the youth sports world that you'd like to leave us with? Yeah, I think there's so much negative stereotype around youth sports that I try to be the one that's flipping the script. I think it's going to take it takes people stepping up and making decisions and changing things, changing culture. And if you see something going on, be willing to put the work in to change it. I'm always about don't show me the problem, right? Bring the solution. And if it is that you're going to complain about something, you sure as heck better be willing to put the time in to bring a solution forward. So that's why, again, I'm on a board. I'm one of 15 on the board. And our whole goal is to just continue to move this thing forward in a positive way and be a positive light and try to snuff out as much negative as possible and do the right thing. It's not going to be perfect, but keep moving that direction and you feel like you're making an impact. And I think if more people took that approach, and there's a lot of them out there doing it. So it is a lot of good stuff. So let's just keep pushing forward, especially in Minnesota, which is the youth sports world that I know and love. Let's just keep doing it.
Appreciate it. Said we can leave it there for sure. Chad Greenway, amazing guest, wonderful person, pro at all the things. But appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Maria had a really hard time just not completely geeking out the entire call. As a huge Minnesota Vikings fan and as someone who watched him get drafted, I mean, I can't describe how amazing and cool that was to, one, talk to him, hear about, his family, about his daughter just becoming this absolute, pillar of basketball here in Minnesota. Yeah. But just like the future that she has, and a very cool post-career activity of just throwing yourself in youth sports and doing a wonderful job at it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we found out we'd have that chance to talk to him, I think we were both a little starstruck. And then hopping on the call with him, he was just like, he was so nice and friendly. His daughter Madden's crushing it. I know all of his other daughters are extremely talented in their own right as well. Worth noting. But yeah, I mean, I think Madden just passed 2,000 points in her career, and she's a freshman. So just take a hot second, think about that. Just insane.
I think it's time for the return of our intern's amazing Tomato Meter challenge, where I will read 3 quotes from iconic sports movies, and you, Marie, will have to select the correct movie from a list of 4 options. And if you select the correct movie, you get a point. But then, for a chance at 2 points, you will need to guess the Tomato Meter score critics gave the movie. You ready?
Yes, I am ready. I'm ready. About 95% ready. The other 5% is a little timid.
Here we go. Question 1. There's no crying in baseball. Is it A, The Sandlot, B, A League of Their Own, C, Major League, or D, 42?
There's no crying in baseball.
Iconic.
I want to say I'm not even going to think about this too much because I don't really know. I'm going to go A League of Their Own.
Nailed it right off the bat. That's right. Get her the points. Get her the points. Well done. That was A League of Their Own. There's no crying in baseball.
Yeah. I thought I remembered this scene. So
amazing.
Tomato Meter score.
Yep.
And this is within 5.
Within 5.
I'm going to go.
Testing my math skills here.
League of Their Own. This is such a good movie, right? 88.
Oh my gosh.
Did I miss it by 1%?
81%. You missed it by a couple. Yeah.
I was going to go 85
too,
but I said, no, I'm going to give it more.
I want to give it to you, but if that's the parameters.
Rules
well
rules
done,
are
though.
rules.
Hold on. It really should be at 88% anyway. Quote number 2. Sweep the leg. Is it A, Happy Gilmore, B, Jerry Maguire, C, Caddyshack, or D, The Karate Kid? Okay.
Kid.
Nailed it. 2 for 2.
Nailed
right
it.
there.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not great at golf, but I feel like sweep the leg is not something that would be said in golf. But Happy Gilmore, everything's on the table there.
It changed the movie dramatically. All right, so Tomato Meter. Let's hear it for the Karate Kid.
Tomato Meter for Karate Kid. 74.
89%
Really?
for the Karate Kid. Absolutely.
Karate Kid was
Wax on,
above
wax
A
off.
League of Their Own. I just don't know if I agree with that.
You've seen the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Karate Kid?
And I've seen A League of Their Own.
Great
all right.
movies.
That's all right.
Great movies. All right, final one.
Okay.
I have a feeling that everyone's going to yell this in their car, but here we go. Get your hands on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pack up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark. Is it A, Space Jam, B, Semi-Pro, C, Coach Carter, or D, Hoosiers?
Space Jam?
Got it.
3
for 3. 3 for 3.
Space Jam. I'm giving Space Jam a 94. 70, isn't it? Am I all over the place?
It's actually, it's lower than that.
Oh, no. Was it like 52?
Lower than that.
Was it like the splat, not even the tomatoes?
44%. 44% for Space Jam? Are you guys kidding me? We're not trying to...
I bet you could have it.
Right. Bill Murray coming out of the tunnel too? Are you kidding me?
I mean, come on. Who is
and the way his voice cracks at the very end, he's like, "Let's go Bulls!" It's just so good. How is this at 44%? We're not trying to win an Oscar here, people. This is for just enjoyability.
I think what we need to do is because we have so much time on our hands, maybe we need a spin-off podcast where we rewatch sports movies and just talk about them. Keep that in mind. I think we have a lot of time to do that.
I think so too. While we think about that, this has been another episode of For the Love of Sport. As always, feel free to send us an email at ftlospod@nbcuni, that's uni.com. We love hearing from you. Please feel free to send over any topics, any questions, any things that are on the top of your mind as far as youth sports are concerned, or if you have a dissert that you want to pose to our guest, feel free to shoot it over. We love hearing from you.
For the Love of Sport is brought to you by Sports Engine, the home of youth sports. Hosts are the sensational Simon McKenzie and myself, Marie Fitzgerald. Our marketing guru is Kelsey Irwin. Our captain of content marketing is Mr. Rob Badeau. And our most intelligent intern bringing you all the fun new games is Joe Brzonek. And not to leave out or to leave him last, but I think last is best, our exceptional sound engineer, Mr. Troy Stone.
Stay tuned, dear listener. We will be back with a very special episode. It's going to be amazing.